Howdy y'all, it's Kathy from RustPaperScissors, and I'm here today to show the grungy tags that I've made for the Grungy Tag Challenge 2025 July. The prompt was fabric or lace. I don't make a lot of fabric tags, so I kind of had a little learning curve, and I did come up with some tips and tricks for using the fabric, and I'll do those at the end of the video. But these are the tags that I made, and I'll go through each one of them very quickly. But I like to start a grungy tag with a rusted metal tag. So that's usually what I do. I just think it adds another layer to the grunginess. And then, let's see, this tag was the first tag that I made, and it's just a collage. It lifts up. You could have some hidden journaling there. This one lifts up. You could stamp something on there. You could put some paper on the back. So that was the first one. Then this tag, this one is made out of just a regular craft tag, and I just again did a collage. I used some rusty staples. I added a kind of a tag or ticket that says explore on there, and I tried to distress the edges. That's on some leather, and I stamped it with Versa Fine ink, and then I added an eyelet and then a rusted brad, and then I added this little photo with a rusted book dart, and it's just this little family going on a trip, and I thought the Explorer went well with that. Then this one was basically the same thing. This fabric here was a tablecloth that my mom had that she used for picnics back in the 60s, and I just loved it, so I tea-dyed some of it, and I added it here and just again made a collage, and so it's just some tea-dyed fabrics. And then on this one, since this kind of reminded me of a picnic or being outside, I added this little picture of these people at the beach, and then I added it with a rusted butterfly clip, or paper clip, and that way I do that so you could take them off and if you didn't like the picture. So that was that one. Then this one I don't know that I'm real crazy about, but it's just a collage that I glued on. I added the rusted safety pin, I added a little rusted heart, and that's basically it, just a little collage of fabric. And then this one was again just a collage, and then I added this. It was a sticker I got, but I added it to some fabric, and then it's just just layers of fabric. I was struggling with these tags because I don't have a specific journal in mind for them, so finishing them off completely was just a little hard for me because I didn't know what I'm going to use them for. So you could always, on any of these tags, you could always add something additional to go with the journal that you're doing. Then these three tags were just a little bit different. All I did was I took some jean fabric that had a design on it, and I glued it on there. And then the tab is just, I like to cut the seams out of old blue jeans, and I saved them and I used them for tabs. And so that's what I did at the top there. And then I added just this little rusted book plate, and behind the numbers I put some fabric, so a little lighter colored fabric, so you could see the numbers stand out, and I really liked that. I thought that was great. And then this is just, I just glued some lace on to a tag, and don't know if that really qualifies as a fabric or lace tag, but you could add a word or an image, something that would bring it more to life when you have a specific journal in mind. You could always add paper to the back, a journal on the back. And then the last one, this is kind of segue into our other part of the video, but this tag, I just put some tea-dyed fabric behind it, and then I took this was some fabric that I got at a thrift store. I think it used to be a curtain. Maybe in somebody's grandmother's house was a curtain. And I just thought it looked beautiful, so I glued it onto the tag and just glued it under where the stitching was. And then I added the rusted ribbon crimps to hold it in place. And then I added some rhinestones to kind of make it shabby grungy. And then just some paper, fabric here for the pull. And I thought that turned out really pretty. Again, you could put some paper on the back. So those were the tags that I made. And then I want to talk about fabric and attaching the fabric and some of the tips and tricks that I use. Let me set up a little different and I'll show you that. Okay, a couple of years ago, I went to an estate sale and I was able to get a couple of vintage quilt tops that had not been quilted, and I just wanted to mention that because it's a wonderful way for you to get a variety of fabric scraps and colors and fabrics, in one piece. So I just wanted to show you some of the things. These are just pieces from the fabric top that I just wanted to show you, just the variety of things that you get in, a quilt. And they're just really beautiful. So that's, an idea for you to look for maybe quilt tops in thrift stores that you could use in your, use the pieces. This was just the side of the edging of the quilt, so I pulled that off. So you get quite a bit of fabric. This was that quilt that those pieces came from. It was just kind of like a box or squares. It wasn't anything really fancy. This one was more fancy. This one, I guess, was maybe a Lone Star pattern. I'm not real sure. But I just wanted you to see just a variety of material that you can get in, a quilt top. Now, some people would not think it was great to tear up a quilt top, but if you're not going to quilt it and if it's not going to be used, why not, use it for your journals. Now, the quilt material or the vintage material can be very thin, and so when you glue that material, sometimes the glue will show through. And so what I like to do, this is a piece of that fabric, and see, you could almost see my fingers through it. It's very thin. What I did is I took a piece of the fabric and I took some Heat and Bond Light and I cut a piece, and what I did was I put my fabric down. I put the face of the fabric down, and then I took the Heat and Bond, and it has two sides. There's a glue side and then there's a paper side. I put the paper side up, so the glue side down, and then you just iron it. The instructions are on the Heat and Bond, and it's very easy to use. But what it does is it gives your fabric a little layer of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it just puts a barrier between the fabric and what you're gluing it to. Because a lot of times when you glue fabric, the glue will seep through, and I've done that before on journal covers, and I just really didn't like the look where the glue seeped through. So I will add the heat and bond to my fabric and then glue it. You could heat this again and glue it to your project, but I just use it as a barrier, and then this piece just peels off, and now you have this barrier on your fabric. So it's still, it's still pretty sheer, but it's very strong. Now you can still tear it. This is some denim that has the heat and bond, and you can still, tear it. It doesn't affect the heat and bond at all. And so it's really a great product. What I'm going to do is, I had these 2 tags, and I saw a video a couple of years ago by Oak House Journals, and I'll link it below, but she did some of this stitchery onto vintage envelopes, and I just really liked the look of it. And so a couple of years ago, I was helping my mom. She was sick, and I had a lot of time, and I made several of these little flower stitcheries, and so I wanted to include them in the grungy tag. So what I did was I tore the fabric, and when I was getting it down to the size of my tag, I had to tear very close to the edge. And so another product that I like to use is a product called Fray Check. And what that does is you can put it onto your fabric, and it keeps it from continuing to fray. So what I did was I put some Fray Check along the sides here where I got close, and then I added the heat and bond on the back, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but I ironed the heat and bond on. Now, if you don't get the heat and bond the exact size, all you have to do is just pull it off. But what I wanted to do was go on and glue these down. I'm going to glue one with the Barely Art glue, and I was going to use one with the Fabri-Tac. And we'll look at them at the end and see how they did, but I just wanted to demonstrate. Let's put the Fabri-Tac on this one. See if I can get it to come out. Yeah. Oops. And then I'm going to take a little silicone little thing to kind of get all the bumps, lumps and bumps out of, kind of get it spread over the whole product, whole tag here. I'll make sure I have enough on there. And then we're going to glue this down. And then you could finish this off with, a label or, something, but it just creates a barrier and you don't see the glue. Now, let's glue the other one, and we'll look at it again later at the end of the, I'm going to glue this one with the Barely Art glue. Okay, looks like I got some glue on the side here. Let's just clean that up. Then we'll take our tag. Again, we're going to glue it down. And hopefully the glue won't seep through. And there you go. So we'll look at those again at the end of the show. But I wanted to, another product that I wanted to mention besides the Fray Check, let me talk a little bit more about the Fray Check. Sometimes you use lace, and when you cut it, the end frays. And so what you can do is, if you want that little bit a fray to show and you like it, then all you could do would be add some of the fray check along the end here, and it dries clear, it's flexible, and it will stop the lace from fraying. The reason I use it is like if I'm putting that on the side of a page, I wouldn't want it to continue to fray. So I also did an example where I put the fray check on the fabric before I cut, or the lace before I cut it, and see how it just makes a cleaner cut. So, and then it's not going to fray. And like I say, it dries clear, it's flexible. I really like it. So it works, on, the fraying fabric, and I use it a lot. Then something else I wanted to try was this peel and stick fabric fuse. Basically what this is double-sided tape for fabric. And you just cut your piece, and then you stick it to your fabric, and then you peel the back off, and then you attach it to your card. So what I did was I did a demonstration. I took 2 pieces of the same material, and I stamped the image. This image I stamped on just the plain, thin material. And then this image I stamped on the material once it had the peel and stick fabric fuse on there. I think it makes the image just a little bit more crisp, but it's not that discernible. On this one, this was the one that I glued to the tag, and on this side of the tag I used the Fabri-Tac, and on this side I used the Bearly Art glue. And I tried again to make it very thin so it wouldn't glob, or you wouldn't have lumps and bumps, and it really worked pretty good. Does show some of the glue coming through, but on this size of a project it's really not noticeable. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. And if you like the grungy look, you've got it right there. Then this is the fabric with the fuse on there, and you don't see any of the glue. It's glued on there. It's not coming off. It's did a great job, but I thought I really liked the peel and stick. So if you didn't want to get out your iron, this might be an option for you as the peel and stick. One more thing I wanted to talk about, the heat and bond. You can use it on fragile papers. I put some on this paper, and it really strengthens it. It's pretty fragile. It tears very easy, but the heat and bond really gives it a little strength. So that is all the little tips and tricks that I had. Just recommend that you look for some fabric, maybe quilt tops. These are the 2 little tags that we glued, and I think they look good. And then this is the other one that we glued. That Fabri-Tac was a barrier, not the Fabri-Tac, the heat and bond was a barrier, and I think they look great. So these are all the tags that I made, and I feel like I kind of go overboard, but like I say, I don't usually make fabric tags, so I really had a learning curve, and I would appreciate it if you would leave me a comment. Maybe tell me which is your favorite tag, and let's see if I can get them all in there. And if you have any tips and tricks for fabric, I'd love, to know what you use. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.